The Echoing Room. In the small, forgotten town of Ravenshill stood an old, creaky house known as the Wraith Manor. The house had fallen into disrepair, its windows broken and its walls crumbling. No one had lived there for decades, but the tales of its haunting were passed down through generations. They spoke of eerie whisperings, ghostly apparitions, and unimaginable horrors. One crisp autumn evening, a young historian named Emily decided to visit the house. She had heard the stories and was fascinated by the paranormal. Having acquired special permission from the town council, she planned to spend the night investigating the manor. Armed with her cameras, voice recorders and a flashlight, she ventured inside. The moment Emily crossed the threshold, she felt the air grow colder and heavier. The floorboards creaked beneath her feet and the faint scent of mildew lingered. The dusty furniture was covered in white sheets, resembling shrouds that covered long-forgotten corpses. Despite her apprehension, Emily pushed forward, determined to uncover the truth behind the haunting. After hours of exploration, she found herself in a peculiar room. It was smaller than the others and seemed strangely untouched by time. A large, ornate mirror hung on the wall, its glass slightly cracked. As she stepped closer, she noticed something odd. Her reflection was hanging slightly out of sync. Curiosity piqued, Emily set up her equipment and settled down to wait for something to happen. Midnight arrived, and with it the temperature dropped even further, making her breath visible in the cold air. The silence was thick, pressing in on her from all sides. It was then that she heard it, the softest of whispers, like a breath against her ear. "Leave." Emily froze, the hair on the back of her neck standing up. She turned her flashlight towards the source of the sound, but there was nothing, just empty, dusty corners. Undeterred, she spoke into her recorder. "Is there someone here with me?" The only reply was an eerie silence. Shivering, she pulled her jacket tighter around her and continued to wait. Then, just as she was beginning to think the stories were all fabricated, she saw it, a figure faint and ethereal standing behind her in the mirror. Its face was contorted in a silent scream. Emily spun around, but there was nothing there. Heart pounding, she looked back at the mirror. The figure was gone, but her reflection, it was smiling. It was an unnerving, cold grin that didn't match the fear she felt. She blinked, and when she opened her eyes, her reflection moved on its own. It raised a hand and pointed to a door that she hadn't noticed before, hidden in the shadowy corner of the room. Compelled by a mix of fear and curiosity, Emily approached the door. The handle was ice cold, and it creaked loudly as she turned it. Inside was a small passageway that led down a narrow staircase into what seemed like a basement. The air grew colder and thicker as she descended, the flashlight flickering erratically. At the bottom, she found a single wooden door. She pushed it open and was hit with a wave of cold air and the stench of decay. The room beyond was filled with old, broken furniture and rotting wood. But one thing stood out, a large wooden chest in the center of the room. Her heart raced as she approached it, the lid covered in dust and cobwebs. She slowly opened it, the hinges groaning in protest. Inside were old yellow documents and photographs, but what caught her eye was a leather-bound journal. As she opened it, she realized it belonged to the last owner of the house, a man named Jonathan Wraith. The entries were filled with ramblings about spirits, curses, and dark rituals. The final entry was the most chilling. "They are everywhere, watching, listening. The mirrors hold their prison, but soon they will be free. I must seal the house, trap them inside, but I fear it is too late." At that moment, the door behind her slammed shut, plunging the room into darkness. Her flashlight flickered out, leaving her in pitch black. Panicked, Emily felt a cold breath on the back of her neck and heard a chorus of whispers surrounding her. "You should not have come." She fumbled for her flashlight, praying it would work. When it finally flickered back to life, she found herself surrounded by shadowy figures, their eyes glowing with a malevolent light. She screamed, dropping the flashlight, and everything went black. The next morning, the town council found the manor's door wide open. Inside, they discovered Emily's equipment, her notes, and a flashlight lying on an old wooden chest. But Emily herself was never seen again. The mirror in the peculiar room was shattered, and some say